Welcome to another episode of Chasing the Wind. I'm Pastor Mark. Let's see what the Holy Spirit may be up to today. So I have been reading a book called Focus on the Future by Tim Clinton. Dr. Tim Clinton. He is a counselor, and I think I think he founded the Christian Counseling Association or something, the big deal where all Christian counselors come together and stuff. Anyway, I was reading it, and there was something he wrote that was that just captivated me. I want to talk about it for a minute. He's talking about culture and being cultured. It's funny, we think of culture as someone, they're very cultured. They're very cultured. They're very sophisticated. They're very learned. They're very experienced. They're cultured. They go to the symphony, and they go to the ballet and the concerts, and they're very hoity-toity. The hoi pollou is what we think. Okay, that's what we think. They're very cultured. You probably think about that with Andy. When he's on here, Andy's very cultured. I'm not sure what culture it is, but anyway. We think it's people with taste, and they're very cultured individual. But I want to think about something else with culture, and this really has got me thinking a little bit. I took a picture of the page I want to talk about to you, so I don't forget. But there is this other idea of culture that has to do, I'm going to say, with medicine, with science. And I'm not a big science person. It just doesn't work for me, and that's okay. I don't understand it all, but I understand enough that whatever. So anyway, there's this other idea. Let's say, a while back, about a year and a half ago, a family member of mine was very, very sick. We almost lost them. And there was, they had to take some samples of some things and send them off to be what? Cultured. What does it mean that they have a culture? And it means, here's what it means. It means they're growing something to find out what the problem is, whatever the sickness is, whatever this thing is. That's my science coming off here. This thing is attacking one's body. We don't know what kind of organism it is. We don't know what kind of virus it is. So we've got to culture it. We've got to let it grow. So that's what the other meaning of cultured is. That's where Tim Clinton was talking about this. And he says this. He goes, the meaning that I intend here has to do with what is encouraged to grow. And he's talking about families here, the culture of families. We just sold our camper to a young family, and I am super stoked for them that they're a good Christian family, and he's a good Christian father and wants to really raise his kids right and foster his family. I'm excited that that's what that camper is going to be used for, is to be part of that, because he wants his kids to grow in the wisdom and knowledge of God and to be godly young men someday, godly men someday. And so what are we growing is my question. I'm going to encourage you today, Wind Chasers, to be cultured. I remember back when I started my educational career at Olivet Nazarene University, and I had to take Harvey Collins' class on Introduction to Fine Arts. And Harvey Collins was an interesting character, had interesting little mannerisms and peccadillos, but very knowledgeable. And I remember sitting there, and I was 5 years older than most of the students in the class, because I start everything late in my life sometimes. Late, according to some people, I guess. It was right on God's timing, I think. But I remember him saying to us, do not come into this class and say to me, I do not like art. I don't like classical music. I don't like this. I don't like that. He goes, you don't know what you like because you've probably never been exposed to it. It was probably one of the best things that was said to me. It's one of the things that I really remember from my educational career. Is Harvey Collins saying that, because it made me say, you know what, try some things. I remember going to Olivet, and I think it was the first time I tried different types of food, Chinese food and different things like that. We just didn't have those restaurants in the little town I grew up in. We didn't have many restaurants in the little town I grew up in, now I think about it. But I started trying new things and saying, okay, this maybe I will like it if I try it. My mom tried getting me to do that all my life, but she like wanted to have me eat stuff like Brussels sprouts. And anyway, I've actually had good ones, but they disguised the taste of the Brussels sprouts with like garlic and other good stuff that does taste good. So, but it was an eye opener for me. Am I cultured now? Well, it depends on who you talk to. But I will say this, I am cultured in the sense that I am growing. Romans 12, therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what is God's will, what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Growth, 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 growth. I love what John Maxwell says. Change is inevitable. Growth is a choice. It's a choice. We're going to change. All I got to do is look in the mirror and see that the goatee is white, gray. I'll say it's gray, not white yet. It wasn't at one time. Years ago when I had a little bit of facial hair, it was brown. Now it's gray. There's been change over the years. And so we will change, whether we like it or not. It's going to happen in our lives. Growth is optional. Change is inevitable. Growth is optional. So we have to decide, are we going to surrender to God's plan to transform us? We call that sanctification in theological circles. The process, the plan that God has, the way that he makes us holy, makes us more like Jesus. And so you need to be a little cultured, and that is what God is doing us. In one sense, God puts us in a little petri, and we're growing. We're going to find out what's there, and hopefully, what is growing in us is Jesus, and the attributes of Jesus, that we become more and more where we look like Jesus. That's what Christian means, is little Christ. We're supposed to become and look more like Jesus as we go through life. And that is something that God is working on us daily, And so, I want to encourage you a little bit this morning, Wind Chasers, to be cultured. Yeah, I'm going to also challenge you to listen to a little bit of classical music. Go take a look at art and really appreciate it and see what's there. Read a book that maybe stretches you a little bit, but also allow God to maybe use those things, because he does not waste anything, to help form us and create us. A buddy of mine hit a deer yesterday, and he's like, God, what's this about? What's this about? God does not waste anything to teach us something, to grow us and help us become who he wants us to be. Remember, you say, well, I don't like growth. I gotta stretch and I gotta change. Yeah, I know that we don't like that word. It's funny we don't like that word in the church especially, but that's the very thing that God is doing. He is in the change business, because he's changing us from being people who did not love him and follow him to people who do love him and follow him. And that is why we need to be cultured, people. We need to surrender ourselves to God's plan. So I'm going to end it right there. Wind chasers, keep chasing the wind, because the wind is chasing you and it is changing you. Keep chasing the wind, because I'm Pastor Mark. Grace and peace.